welcome back to the channel. So we've got Randy bringing his car here this afternoon. We're gonna stay late and give some after-hour customer service, I guess. And we are going to fix the front end where they messed up the paint on all the tubes to do all the welding that was required whenever he changed all the front end kit and changed everything up. So we're not gonna do nothing crazy. I'm gonna show y'all how, if you do have a nice painted car and you have to go back and do some modifications to your suspension or tube work or anything like that, and you want to touch it up without taking it to the body shop and without making a big ordeal out of it, without taking everything out of it, I'm going to show you basically how we are going to touch these tubes up and get them back painted base coat, clear coat in a timely manner. So we've done this one other time on the Comet. We did the Comet video where me and Mike had to recut the front end, some stuff on it, and then I went back and blended it, but we did use a actual paint gun to do that. So we're going to use an airbrush gun this afternoon and just brush all this stuff in, and either we're going to break it on welds, the paint, we're either going to break the paint lines on welds, or we might meld it into another one. If the tube is too long of a run, then we'll meld it. If it's a shorter tube and we can break it on a weld, then we'll just do that. So let me show you what we got. All the normal. We're going to use some paint actually off my Duramax as a drop coat, and then we have Randy's paint. This is the color of Randy's car. This is the color he went with, so this is what everything's painted. We're going to do that, and then he's got the high solids clear that we did everything with, so I still have some of that left over from when we painted the vehicle. That's the clear that's on Randy's car that we have used. There is the reducer that we shoot, and here is the hardener. So if you need to look any of this stuff up, I feel like we have plenty to do what we got to do tonight. So I have destroyed, let's see here, these, I have tons of these, not tons, but got a whole drawer of dead paint guns, touch-up guns, airbrush pieces. There's a whole bunch of dead airbrushes in there, but none of this stuff works whenever you need it to work. So I told the wife today that I'm not dealing with this afternoon, for her just to go ahead and run to the good old China buffet and pick up a brand new airbrush gun. I needed one anyway for, touch-up work and stuff exactly like this, or if I'm, I do flames every now and then or something, and I've needed the airbrush gun. Last time we went to use Mike's airbrush gun, it didn't work when I showed y'all how to paint carbon fiber, basically how to make it look like carbon fiber but with paint. It didn't work, so didn't feel like dealing that with this afternoon. So we've got the airbrush kit. I'm gonna get this open, get everything set up, and then we'll wait for Randy to get here. So these kits, I guess I did not catch it, do not come with a line, an air line. They don't come with an air line. So I've had to take one of these other ones that I had in there and cut the end off of it, and I can barely get it on that little barb fitting, and then put my air fitting on that end. Of course, I don't even know where I got the line from. I think it was out of one of the cheap Harbor Freight kits in the past. This is what it looks like. It's this little thing that you got, ends on both ends. So all I did was cut one end off and try to press it on there, and let's hope for the best. As long as we don't turn a lot of PSI up. I gave it a pretty good tug, and I used the cigarette lighter to heat it up and kind of melt it on there. So it's not even over a barb, but it's just pretty melted on there. So as long as I think we don't give it too big of a tug, and then I think it might last for the night, hopefully. So let's hope that it does. If it doesn't hold, I have got plan B, and I actually this is the line I just showed y'all. So it had this little piece on it, and the other end doesn't have this piece, or it doesn't have this piece because this unscrews. So all it's got is that little metal fitting right there. So all I did is, this is like a vacuum line or a washer fluid reservoir off of another vehicle with a rubber 90. So all I've done is just push that up inside that rubber, and it fit pretty snug. These don't pull out of here. Like, it's pretty hard to get that. You can't even get it to move. Like, it's pretty tight fit. And the same thing on the other end. It's just a rubber 90 off of a car, and this is another barb fitting that will fit that. So if that doesn't hold, then we're going to be changing over to this one, and hopefully that one should hold to get us through the night. That's up to you, dude. I don't want to take nothing off.
Okay, don't.
So this is what we got. We're gonna mask it. So if you've ever had your whole car professionally painted, or you've painted it and then you go to make changes later like Randy did, and you have to cut bars out, change turbo mounts, you know, grind stuff down for grounds and brackets, or, you know, put other tubes in, then you're left with this. So your options are take it back to a shop, pay them to professionally paint it, or you can actually do this right in your driveway. So we're gonna go over tonight how we're going to do this. So we're gonna get some etching primer on this. Well, first we're gonna start just masking stuff up, moving stuff out of the way, and then we're gonna get etching primer on the bare spots after we scuff it down a little bit. We're gonna let that dry off, and then we're gonna go into paint. So we will show you all step by step on how you can fix all of these trouble areas on your car, and hopefully this turns out absolutely amazing. All right, y'all, so it looks like we are going to be working into the dark. So bear with me on the light footage. It's probably not going to be great. What I plan to do is show y'all how to do this, or how we're doing it. And then what we'll do is next time I'm at the car at the track or something and front end's off, I'll try to remember to grab a clip showing you how it looks all together, because we don't plan to fully untape it tonight. This is what we're using. We're just using a rattle can etching primer. There's a million different variances of this. As long as it's a self-etch primer, you're good. A self-etch primer has a chemical in it that bites into the metal, the raw metal, and that's what makes the paint stick, is using an etching primer beforehand. Now you can do a 2K primer, 2K etching primer, which means the 2K stands for 2 parts, meaning that there's a hardener in it, or you can do a 1K primer, which is going to be a rattle can, meaning there isn't a second part, meaning there is no hardener. It's just 1 part. Okay, you don't have to mix 2 parts together. It should have instructions on the back. I have to find them. I haven't even read this can. I literally just started spraying it. Normally it has dry times or whatever. I'm gonna read it as soon as I turn the camera off. If not, a good safe bet is about 15 minutes. So even on the 2K that I shoot, you let it gas out for 15 minutes when you mix it as a 2K, and then you will let it gas out on the car. I'm sorry, mine went blank. Gas on the car about 15 minutes before you actually lay paint over it. So about 15 minutes is a rule of thumb if you don't have any thing. So all we did is we're just getting everything you can see. So we're just gonna spot this stuff in basically. And then anything that needs to be touched up from the bottom side or around the corners, you know, or anything we can't see, we'll probably just hand brush it out at the track with a little touch-up paint, you know, as we can see it or whatever. We just want to have it nice glossy red on what we can see. This is basically just a real quick, rough spotting in job. We're not going to blend it, nothing. There's going to be hard lines, but you're just not going to see them. By the time all of the lines get ran back all over this thing and everything put back over it, I mean, you're not going to see this stuff, man. Trust me. You can see it now because everything's taken apart, but you're not going to see it once it goes together. So you just want red over it, you know, and some clear coat. So I'm going to go in here and we are going to mix up what we are using. So I'm going to get my airbrush gun set up, make sure it's flowing, and then we're going to go ahead and mix up some red. I think being that we're spotting in, you know, just a little bit, I might try to just go straight with Randy's paint. But here's the problem with that, is all I have is what's in this can. So if it doesn't cover good and I don't get good coverage, I'm gonna have to open that whenever I turn the camera off. If it don't get good coverage, it feels like it's down to like here. So if I run out, I'm screwed. So that's the reason why I'll probably put some of this red down first to get coverage, so there's no more gray. This is off of my truck. You know, that way you have red foundation, and then you can blend out over top with your actual color. You know, or you just buy how much paint you need, obviously, before you start. But we're just trying to buy a very little amount because, as you know, we have most of this car already painted. There's not much left to do on it. So we'll get this mixed up, get the airbrush gun going, and then I'll show you all that process. All right, so we got my red in there, and we're just gonna put a little on it until we get the coverage. And hope that we don't start wrinkling the edge of the paint where it was painted at, because it is very easy to start wrinkling up that stuff, especially if you get it too wet. And again, I'm only putting this red on it out of caution in case I don't have enough of the other stuff. So I'd rather get a good foundation laid down first of red. That way I know I'm gonna have enough. I don't want to roll the dice and start trying to paint this and then run short. So this is gonna be really boring to film. Nobody's gonna sit here and watch it. Y'all are just gonna fast forward through it. So I'm gonna put the camera down and I'm gonna take my time and get all this covered with this drop coat of red. It's called a drop coat when you're dropping it first. I'm gonna get good coverage on it, and then I'm gonna switch to Randy's actual color, and then I'll catch back up with y'all and we will run clear coat over everything. All right, so we have our first drop coat of red done, and now we're gonna switch to Randy's actual color red. So as you can see, we've got red over everything that we can see on the front side of it. And now we're gonna switch to, you can see it's a little darker. Now we're gonna switch to his actual red and then paint over everything with his, the actual color of the car. All right, so we have mixed up our clear, and what I'm gonna do for my first coat, being that we didn't really smooth things out excellent, is I'm gonna put base coat in here, about half base coat, half clear coat, and we're gonna run one good thick coat with that mix, basically turning it into a single stage, what I like to call just dirty clear, not cleaned out. And then we will pour that out after we get one good coat in there, and then we will run just straight clear over one pass so you can get the gloss. So that's how much clear I'm gonna put in there, which is about right there. And then I'm gonna just top the rest off with straight base coat, put it in the gun, and we're gonna go shoot it. All right, so there we go. That is wrapped all up and undone. So I had a couple spots. I actually had one spot that we didn't catch that was behind the tape right there. And so what I did was, after I got done, I took a little base coat, and you just take a toothpick, dip your toothpick in your base coat can so that it's nice and wet, pull it out, touch the toothpick to the little rock chip, and just let it drip. One little toothpick drip off, and then dip it again and touch it to your little rock chip, one drip off again. Don't use a brush. Everybody wants to go grab a little brush, smear it, make a mess. Use a toothpick. You can control this. So you just let it soak up, and you're literally just letting the little drip of paint off the end just drip on there, and you just keep dabbing it till you drip. And my tape actually accidentally hit a piece up here that was already clear coated, and it's dry enough now because I put accelerator in it where you can brush against it, you could touch it and it's dry. But of course, if the sticky side of the tape hits it and you pull it off, it's gonna pull the paint off because it's not cured. So I was trying to untape it and just go ahead and get it untaped. And so took a little, the size of the end of a Sharpie off of paint. So I re-dabbed that. And I mean, it's gonna be covered all up by lines and everything, but it looks good. You got one spot right here that you can slightly see right there. Where we taped it, you know, the paint is a little bit darker, but Randy said that if anybody is that close to his car, that he's going to tell them that they need to back up. They're a little too close. So, but I mean, we got everything where it looks amazing. You know, I mean, the tubes are all, I know the light is terrible, but the tubes are all glossed out, and we didn't even prep anything. So I just put so much clear over it that it just kind of laid it out smooth. So let me see if I can find a spot that you can kind of see. Like right there, you can see where the paint was grinded, and you can actually see on the back side around there where we didn't get, but the right there, you can kind of see it, but it's really hard. So I mean, if you put enough clear on it, this stuff will look absolutely amazing for what you're trying to do. And I told Randy that when he goes to put the rest of his front end together, if he gets some red touch-up paint from the parts store with a little brush, he can go from the backside and just brush that little bit of area, because it's just a little tiny bit that you just can't get efficiently with the airbrush gun or a paint gun without taking everything apart. So we've got all this stuff laid loose. We're going to leave it loose. We're just going to slide it back into the trailer, and then when John and them go to put it together tomorrow night, they can rebolt all this stuff back up, because then by then the paint will be nice and cured up. But all the bars were wrapped up, so I mean, everything looks, you know, amazing now. We fixed up here where it was grinded behind the coals. I mean, just everything looks really good. I mean, for me to show any flaws, I really have to be on top of the car, and obviously nobody's going to be that close to the car. You know, you might be standing back at it looking at it like this, but I mean, you're not going to be that close to it. So that's going to be a wrap for this video. Hopefully that helps somebody, where you can, you know, if you have to touch up some stuff in your driveway, you can mix up just a tiny bit of clear, a little bit of base coat, get an airbrush gun for Harbor Freight, and just get out there and get at it. And you don't have to have a big compressor at all to use a little airbrush. So you could technically, if you did tube work and you just tubed the front end of a car, and you know the rest of the car was painted, and you do tube work and you don't want to brush it with that brush on paint, you could literally just take your airbrush and you could do paint all your tubes with an airbrush. And you know, you probably even do a roll cage if you wanted to, but I mean, you could do a lot with an airbrush or a little detail gun. So we're gonna wrap this up for tonight. Oh, one more thing. That's the reason why I went over in other videos, and I told Randy that whenever you go to dedicate to paint your front end or all your tubes, base coat, clear coat, you're kind of stuck having to touch them up like this. If you'll use that hammer paint that we used on his cage, we went over in a video where I showed you the hammer paint that we brushed the cage out with. If you'll do a hammer paint or a brush on Rust-Oleum paint from Lowe's that comes in the can, that stuff is really durable for what it is, but your touch-ups will be 100 times easier to do. My car is base coat, clear coat because I'm a painter, but even me, if I have to grind something or change something from here on out, it's either getting spray paint or it probably will get brush. I don't even brush on black because I don't even think that I will pull out the airbrush gun. You know, Randy's on a different level than me. His car is a work of art. You know, mine looks good and all, but I don't know. I guess I just don't care that much about it. So like, comment, subscribe, and share, and hopefully this will help somebody out. Thanks, y'all.